Recording. Okay, I guess we're live. So, Anamika, you may know some of the students that are in my class this year, and they may know you, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Um, but I wanted them to have the opportunity to speak with you as someone who's been launched into the workplace, and you are in the place where they're headed. And I thought you probably have some insights you could share with them. So I thought we could start with you telling us about yourself for those who may not know you in the group or may not know your history of how you came to Caldwell and so on. So please share with us that part.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. McEvoy, for letting me have this interview with you first. It's so nice to see you. So for most of them, I think I know them. For those who don't know me, my name is Anamika. I'm an international student from Nepal. I came to Caldwell University on scholarship to study biology. And then, like my first year as a bio major, I didn't really like the labs. I didn't like the touching the, whatever, like touching fluids. I didn't like cutting the rocks. I was like, maybe there's something else I should do because I was not enjoying it. And then healthcare administration was a new subject when I was a sophomore at Caldwell University. It was not like, oh, we have a whole army of alumni who are in this field, so we can ask them. It was like one student starting, it was a very new program. So I was like, why not? I was very sure that I wanted to do something in healthcare, like it would be something public health, healthcare, something like that, something this field. I just didn't know where and what exactly because healthcare is very vast. And then I was like, I've always studied science my whole life, but in my heart I felt like I am good in organization, I'm good with communications. Why not go something towards administration? Maybe I will be good at this. So just took a leap of faith. I was like, let me try this major. So my sophomore year, I changed my major to healthcare administration, took intro to healthcare administration. I was like, okay, this looks exciting. This looks really like something I could do. And as I was studying it, it taught about healthcare systems, how hospitals worked, and I was like, oh my God, there's like a whole other dimension to healthcare because we always only think about doctors, nurses. That's all people think when it comes to healthcare. But
Sure.
who's gonna think about the supply chain management? Who's gonna think about scheduling? Who's gonna think about running the hospital, like the utilities? Putting
Yeah.
people in place. Doctors, clinicians, nurse practitioners, they just come and treat the patient. But there's a whole administrative side, which I feel like a lot of us are not aware about, which is a lot of opportunities.
Yes.
So that was my feeling, like this is somewhere I can be really good at. I can definitely help people. I just don't do the clinicals, but administrative, working with patients, their families, everything I could do. So I was like, I really like this. I think this is something I can be good at, I can enjoy. And I went forward. Then I was like, okay, let me get some hands on experience. So, career fair, I think I went to Vitas Healthcare
Mhm.
and I said, I really want to work because I just wanted to know how it feels working. Because I also want to tell the students like theory and practical are two different things. So I wanted to see like how does it feel to work? Like is it boring? Maybe I like what I'm studying, but I might not like what I'm doing. So Vitas Healthcare, it's a hospice care organization where they treat acutely ill patients. That's where I interned as a sophomore. And there I was liking it. I was like, okay, this is how hospital works. This is how things are managed. And then I interviewed a lot of people and I realized like a lot of the clinicians also have like administrative degrees, either MBA or MHA, and then they level up to like an executive board. So I was like, okay, this is how things work. And then I went to Memorial Sloan, I interned there, and now I'm working as a full-time care coordinator at Memorial Sloan Cancer Center.
So before I move on to the next question, when you were in that decision-making time,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make up your mind, did you get advice from people at Caldwell? Were they your advisors helpful? Did you get to because it was a very new program. You were
Mm,
the first in it. So
mm.
were they able to give you a good feel for it?
Yeah, so I remember talking to Dr. Berkey. She was my kind of advisor for my bio program, and I told Dr. Berkey I was like, I'm just not enjoying the labs. I will do it, but it's just not coming from within. It kind of feels like work. I think I should change my major, and I was thinking to totally go into business, either maybe finances or business administration. But I felt like I am more of a people's person, and with my background in science, I feel like healthcare would be like the perfect point for me, where I have a science background. I know how human body works. I know everything kind of about it, and just add administration and business side to it. So Dr. Berkey was like, I think you'll be really good. There is this new major. Go and talk to Dr. Rich. Go and talk to Dr. Rich. She will explain to you more about it. And I went to Dr. Rich. I talked to her about it. It looked new, and I was like, I think I will like it. I was like, let me take intro to healthcare administration, just get a feel of what this field is, and if I like it, I'll go forward with it. So Dr. Berkey did help me. Dr. Rich directed me, and then Dr. Ignanovich. He was a really cool professor, I would say. He was like one of my favorite professor. We had a lot of classes together. Almost it became like a family of seven of us. Once we
Uh-huh.
moved to the higher level courses, it was like all of us always talking about healthcare. How are we gonna fix the system? And then there was Dr. McEvoy, where we were talking about students' principles. Oh my God! So yeah, people were
Yeah.
really helpful at Caldwell.
So now you're at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and maybe you could just share how what was your journey? How did you get there? And um, they know that the internship program is paused right now,
Yeah.
and they know that I encouraged them to go that way. But
Mhm.
you're someone who navigated it, so maybe you could just share a little bit about it and what
Sure.
it was like.
Sure. So Memorial Sloan Kettering, it was an organization I always kind of knew. It's not just in America, it's a world renowned organization for cancer care. Celebrities, top officials from the whole world choose Memorial Sloan. So when I first heard about Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, I was like, oh my God, how would it be working for like a top cancer research? I just felt like so far. It felt like, oh my God, because I thought, oh my God, what if I don't think I'm good enough. That's actually what I thought. Let me be very honest. When I first heard about it, it was Dr. Chesler who said, "Oh, you should apply to Memorial Sloan Kettering's internship. They have a really good internship. Talk to Dr. Rich. It would be a really good organization." And I was like, "Yeah, if they take me," that was my thing in my mind. I was like, "If they take me, I would love to do it." So, just to give you a little background, I myself lost my grandmother due to ovarian cancer. So,
Uh-huh.
even in healthcare, cancer research, or just working with cancer patients is really personal to me, because it
Yes.
was in my family, and I kind of have the patient side of experience, where you take the patients for chemotherapy, doctor's visit. It is a long process. It's not like, oh, you just see a doctor, you have a little surgery. There are patients who come to Memorial Sloan for 15 years. It's
Yes.
kind of like one part of their lifestyle at this point.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, let me look into this. And then I went ahead, I did a little research, and me being an international student, I was previously told like Memorial Sloan Kettering does not hire international students. That was a one of my professors said that, and I was like, oh my God, like I felt really, I couldn't even try. That's what I felt, because if it says, oh, you're ineligible because of your immigration status, it really hurts, because I couldn't even show them who I am. So I was like, okay, but I am the kind of person, I don't take a no. I want to try it for myself. I was like, okay, so if they're not gonna, if they don't take international students, they should send me an email saying, no, we don't take it, sorry, unfortunately, right? So I was
Yes.
like, I'm at least gonna apply. So I feel like just trying is the very first step. That's what I want to tell students right now. I know it's COVID, there's hiring freeze, definitely. The internships are stopped, but you should never stop trying. If I stopped trying, I would never be here. I would not get the Vitas healthcare internship. Worked in law firm, Mandelbaum Salzburg. I wouldn't really get those internships, and definitely Memorial Sloan. It was just like, let me just try. That was my first step. I put in my resume, my application. It was my resume, cover letter, why I wanted to intern. And I was like, let me see. I'd rather hear no, but I cannot take the fact that I didn't even try. So I just put in, and they were like, your resume is really impressive. We're gonna have like a phone interview with you. That was the first step. If your resume looks good, if they think you are like a good candidate, they will give you a phone interview. And the phone interview, you kind of talk to the talent acquisition specialist. They kind of, it's not a really like a hardcore interview, it's just like a screening process, because they kind of want to know you. So after the phone interview, if you do well, they have like a personality test. So that's the tricky part, where a lot of the applicants are like, oh, we're sorry, because they kind of look for a certain personality, which I don't know what personality it is. I
And
don't
I
know
have
how
to
it
throw in,
works.
we don't know what personality is.
We
They're very
don't.
secretive.
Absolutely. So it's not like you can, just say what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a personality test, which they kind of changed now into like personality test and a game test. So that it's kind of like 2 hours test that you have to take. Basically, it's like it's kind of playing games, but it kind of shows your critical thinking ability. So just one question was, oh, what do you think this patient is feeling? So just by the facial expressions of patients. So they kind of showed us some pictures, and I kind of had to say what I thought this patient was feeling. So it was kind of a test for empathy, how quick I was, what I would do in certain situation. So for students who are applying, my advice is just be yourself. Just do what you do. Don't try to think like I'm gonna, say I'm gonna be really good, because sometimes that doesn't work. And for a lot of my applicants who I have seen, who thought they did really well, didn't make it through that test. So just be yourself. There's no right answer, wrong answer. After you pass that test, it's a machine. It's not even a person. Then they give you like a one-on-one interview. That's the last part. That's the last part. And then I think I had an interview with two of the clinicians, and it was a behavioral based interview question. And what behavioral based interview questions are, I'm just going to give you an example. It's tell me about a time you were the first one to respond to a situation. Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult patient or a difficult person. Tell me about a time you worked with a team and you were successful. So it's almost like taking out your experiences from your memory at the top of your head. So they kind of want to see that you have some kind of experience working with people, or maybe even if it's just any kind of internship. I would say, like, just try to have some experience at the back of your hand, like at the back of your mind, so you can just pull out and say, yes, I've worked with the team in this class. I have done this. This is the time I dealt with a really difficult person, and this is how I communicated. So your experiences, those things are really valuable, I would say. That's how, kind of shows like, okay, this person can critically think, is problem solving. Everything else with healthcare kind of comes with the job. You don't really need to know how to really run a doctor's clinic. They kind of want to see if you can be trained, if you have basic empathy or people skills, that I would like to say. So I made it through that, and it was so funny because I was in Puerto Rico when they were like, okay, come to Manhattan for the interview. So I was in Puerto Rico. We went for a service trip, and we were like building houses and everything. So I was like, I'm in Puerto Rico. Is there anything we can do? So just through a computer, I had my interview like
Oh.
in the middle of nowhere, and I was like borrowing a suit, and I sat and I was like, I don't even know what this is, but the internet should not go out, because that's not my place. Oh my god! And I just went with it. I got Memorial Sloan Caring internship, which was, I feel like, a very really life changing moment for me.
Really? How
It,
so?
it was really life changing because first it kind of gave myself, like, I gave myself the confidence because I tried. That was the first thing. It gave me like an I'm no matter what anybody says, you have to try. I know it's COVID, but I know I have to try. So it was like, because I tried, I was successful. If I just took a no, they said, "Oh, you're ineligible. This is your status, immigration status." I would never be here. Maybe right now I would be like stressing for job or anything like that. And then it was, I had never been through such a, extensive interview process, because I basically, for anything like maybe on campus job, it's like one interview and you can do it. It was like a phone interview, personality, and it was like one-on-one with clinicians. So it kind of gave me a lot of confidence, like, oh my god, I am good enough, like I can do this. So when I got the internship, it was not just me, it was students from a lot of different university, from Rutgers, from NYU, from Princeton, Hunter's College, really like really good students. And I was kind of the only one from Caldwell University. So it was people knowing Caldwell University for the first time. It was people knowing someone from Nepal for the first time. So I kind of was like the first one, in my group. I think like in different groups, and now students are coming up. And it was kind of me for the first time. And I really liked the culture of Memorial Sloan Kettering. Like, it's so patient centered. They put patient before everything, which is really good because I'm a people's person. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, I want a patient to be happy, healthy. That's all of us, the doctors, clinicians, administrators, everyone's focusing on the same thing. I really liked the culture. So for my internship, I took 18 credits. It was my hardest semester. I didn't know this was coming, it just came all of a sudden. So I was like taking my I was taking my like the difficult classes, 18 credits, and I was commuting to the city from New Jersey to the city 3 days a week, back and forth, back and forth. I was like, oh my god, I can't. The whole commute kind of was like 3 to 4 hours a day. In the morning, I woke up at 5. I got to work at like 7:30, and when I came back, I used to sleep in the bus. In the morning, I kind of did my assignment in the bus because I had so much time. It was like 1 hour, and then I was working in the school as a resident assistant. So almost, when I was an intern, my one day felt like 4 days. I'm not even like kidding with you. Like, I'm someone who does a lot, but it was a lot for me myself.
Right.
Waking up at 5, packing your lunch, getting to the bus. In the bus, you do your homework 7 to 3:30. I was working like completely cancer patients. 3:30, I caught my bus, and I think I was in your class at 4:20. I used to come
Yeah.
exactly. The bus used to drop me right in front of Caldwell University, so I used to run, take my class from 4:20 to 7:30, and it was still not over. After 7:30, I kind of had to work with students to do programs for residence life, and my like I had to do round of the building, so my day almost ended at 1:15. Like, that was the last round of the day.
Wow.
So it was like 7 to 1:15. I was like, oh my god. My brain was like, Anamika, these are 4 days. Because I was like, I was just in New York. I was just in class. Now now I'm with students. So it was like a really hustling phase. But
Yes.
that's what really put me forward, I would say,
Mhm.
because at the end of my internship, they offered me a full time job. So even before I graduated, I knew I had a job. I was graduating in May 2020, December 2019. I signed the thing with like, you are offered a job. So I was really happy. So for a lot of healthcare administration students, if you get the internship, there's like 90% of the chance you will get the job. Unless
Yeah.
you do something so
Wrong.
outrageous that they are like, oh my god, we cannot. But once they invest in you, because they train you, they give you the internship feeling, they want to hire you. So it is a really transition. The internship is a transition from being a student to a full-time employee. So definitely, like, definitely anybody who's watching this, you have to do internships. The theory, just the classes are not enough. It might not be Memorial Sloan, it might be some other organization. Please go forward, get some experience. Get some experience. If it's even like the first internship I did at Vitas was non-paid. It was not paid, but I was like, I want to have this experience. So when I applied for Memorial Sloan, I said, "Oh, I already worked here. I already worked here." So for me, they saw me as a student who just didn't study in class. They saw me a student who came in with an experience.
Right.
So definitely try to collect experiences. And I feel I was kind of helping Ruth, our another friend, with the internship. She was like, "Amika, I have to get this internship," and we were sitting, and I did her mock interview. I did her mock interview. I was like, "I'm gonna be the hiring manager. You're gonna answer my question." So we kind of did the behavioral based interview questions. And she didn't have like a job experience, but she was working as a teacher. She was working with children. I was like, that's what you have to bring into. You have to
Yeah.
say, "I have worked as a part-time teacher, this and that." And she was like, "I've not done any projects." So for the epidemiology class, we did work on a project. And with Dr. McEvoy's class also, we did work on a project where we fixed a hospital. So I was like, you can definitely say that. What you learn in class, say, "I worked with a team. These were the problems of the hospital. This is the principles we applied. This is the solution we said." These things, the managers kind of see like, okay, this student kind of knows what they're talking about. It's not just them studying classes. They kind of know how hospitals work. So kind of try to bring the best. Maybe it's just working a part-time job, just bring the teamwork thing. Or maybe it's just a project. So that's how you have to sell yourself, I believe.
I think that's a good message.
Mm-hmm.
So in your job, are there things that you consider difficult or stressful, aside from the workaday routines and the pace? Are you presented with things that challenge you and that you have to creatively figure out how to solve?
I feel like every day that's a thing. Like, I feel like if I was not working in healthcare, let me just say retail, it'd be a lot different. But with healthcare is such a field, like you're at an enormous stress because you're dealing with people's health. We don't have room for errors. I cannot put a wrong order in. We don't have a room for errors, especially cancer patients. They're at like a really difficult time in their life. And like for cancer patients, you want to do everything,
Yes.
everything to make them happy, to make, if you just hear, oh, if someone's suffering from cancer, you're like, oh my God. But now we're working with cancer patients, 200 to 300 cancer patients every day. And sometimes if you just say, "How are you doing?" and they will say, they're in a bad mood, they'll say, "I'm at a cancer hospital. How do you think I'm feeling?" Like that will come out sometimes. So you just have to, bring yourself together. I would say the first thing, really have a good personality, people skills. That's the first thing. And, you know, just make them comfortable. So we kind like building a relationship works over time, but you kind of want to be welcoming to the patient. I feel like that's the first introduction, especially now since we have COVID. We have a lot of screening check-in process. It's not just like you come in the lobby. I have to screen them, I have to ask them, I have to take their temperatures, I have to make sure they have not been out of state. So it is a lengthy process, and you never know, like you're dealing with patients from outside the country, and you have to be really like kind, and you have to say, "I'm really, unfortunately, you have to get a COVID test before you enter our MSK any sites, because we have to keep everybody safe." Since so it's a really like a difficult time. Cancer is already stressful, and now there's COVID that's making it like extra stressful. So really, you have to be at the top of your game, have a good personality, and then there's working with clinicians. I feel like an open line of communication. So I work with direct doctors. I cover a doctor's clinic. The doctor sees the patient and he gives me like an clinical orders. It's called a disposition form. He says, this is what I want. So I schedule the appointment sitting with the patient and I enter the orders. Now, sometimes it's a really like a time constraint. The doctor wants something right tomorrow, and we don't have something right tomorrow in any of our facility. Now that then there you're making overbooking calls. It becomes a whole 2 hours thing. But at the end of the day, you have to do it for the patient because it's something concerned with their care and their health. And it's not like I can keep that for tomorrow. I have to get it done that day and then I can leave. And it's stressful because it's very pressurizing, I would say. So one quality is you really need to handle pressure and stress, especially if COVID goes up, a lot of employees get sick, we have to work overtime. Learn to manage stress. Know like this is a job. When you're there, you have to be top of your game. Always put the patient first. It has to be according to the convenience of the patient. Communicate with the clinical team. Ask your supervisor if anything looks kind of fishy. Always you want to double check because at the end of the day, you don't want to do a mistake and you like the care is compromised for a patient because of you. That would be the worst thing. That's my worst nightmare. Like I do something wrong and the patient does not get care and their health is kind of affected. So always kind of, you know, be really thorough, being detail oriented, very solution oriented, having the open line of communication with clinicians, asking for help. Tell your supervisor, when I'm having a busy day, at the end, I tell my supervisor, I need help. I'm not trying to do it all. I need help because I have to get this done, but I don't think the time in 2 hours I can finish this. Supervisors will always help you. And one good thing about Memorial Sloan is after we schedule everything right from the disposition forms, there's someone to do reconciling. So there's someone to check your work. I feel like that's where a lot of errors are caught. That kind of saves you. But yeah, definitely learn to handle pressure.
in
Know
that
your
scenario,
limit.
in that scenario you gave where the doctor wants a test done within say 24 or 48 hours and you can't find a way to make that happen, what do you do with the patient at that point? Does the patient go home and you call them? I mean, you're going to be working on creating magic somehow to make it happen.
Absolutely. So it has happened to me a couple of times. It's like the end of the day, the doctor changes the whole, the plan of care and says, okay, we're going to get treatment for this patient right tomorrow, this and that. And I am like, yeah, but we don't have opening. We don't have, these are schedules that are set way months in advance. And just to add on, like chemo treatment, sometimes it is 8 hours. They
Right.
start at 8, they end at 4. So it's not like, oh, they're just coming in to see a doctor so we can squeeze it in. So when that happens, so I the patient needs care in 24 hours, there's no opening, the doctor says he wants it done. The first thing I do is I kind of check every regional site. If the patient is living in, let's say, Brooklyn, I try to see the Brooklyn MSK at Brooklyn if they have opening. Always try to make it easier for the patient because if they don't have to travel to Manhattan, let them not travel. There
Right.
is MSK is in New Jersey, Monmouth, Westchester, Nassau. There's regional sites. So check everything first. And then after that, so that's the first step. Second step is you call the overbooking like center scheduling because sometimes they have like extra slots. So you kind of call them and say, hey, I really need to get this done. Do you have anything in any regional sites? So the center scheduling has more power. So they kind of try to put you in. Sometimes that also doesn't work because center scheduling kind of closes at 4:45. So if the doctor changes the plan after 5, now you're in problem.
Right.
So then the third part is I'll try to call the regional site directly. Directly, like if the patient's in Brooklyn, I'll just call Brooklyn's site and say, hey, this is the whole situation. Can we do something? At that point something should happen. And if nobody, let's say nobody picks up, right, I will type the email to Brooklyn managers, Brooklyn infusions, like an email that has like 10 people and put it in high importance. High importance, and say, hello, I need this patient to be scheduled tomorrow, can please someone respond and help me schedule this. So if I put it on high importance, somebody kind of will respond to me and say like, hey, this is what we have to do. If they say no, we cannot do Brooklyn at all, I will try to overbook it at Manhattan. So basically, I will just try to flag my manager. There's always an early manager and a late manager. So if I just flag my late manager and say, hey, I didn't find it anywhere, can we please get this scheduled in Manhattan somewhere? The late manager will do something at that point because we have to do it. But you just have to go through every avenue. And at the end, for like one of my patients, there was nothing and they had to come to Manhattan. So I kind of scheduled it for Manhattan and I called a patient and I explained the whole thing. I was like, unfortunately, sorry, we don't have anything at Brooklyn, but we have to get this treatment tomorrow. So I schedule it at Manhattan. Patients are really understanding. They understand like you're working hard. At the end, they say, I'm really thankful you did this for me. And sometimes you have to like schedule a surgery. Now that's a whole different thing. That's like a 2 hours thing because you have to enter every little information one by one by one. And it's not just the surgery, okay? I wish it was just the surgery. Before the surgery, there's pre-surgical testing where they have to do x-ray, blood test. Within 48 to 72 hours, they have to do the COVID test. Before every surgery, they have to do COVID test. If they are over 75, they have to do a geriatric consult. So I have to schedule appointment with geriatrics doctor so they just get clearance for the surgery. If they have a cardiologist, there's a cardiology consult. So it becomes like 5 things. So surgery is another difficult thing to schedule, and then you have to make sure the patient does it so we can have the surgery on the date the doctor wants. You know, all the results have to be in, but it is rewarding when the patient kind of does everything and they're good and they're really thankful. They're like, I know you worked really hard on this. Thank you for making it easier for me. So I feel like it's a teamwork. The thing is like have communication. Communicate with your supervisor, communicate with the doctors, communicate with the patients. I feel like the transparency is really important. Even if you don't find something, you have to tell the patients, sorry, this couldn't be done because of the time constraint. So I feel like just the communication part is so big in healthcare because this is a whole team coming together. The doctor has to perform the surgery, administrators have to schedule it. You know, clinicians have to put in the order. It's a whole team coming together for the care of the patient.
So I'm smiling here because I know that you've only been in your job for not even 6 months. And yet I'm listening to you rattle off geriatric consults for over 75, cardiology consults. And of course that was where I was. That was what I was doing when I was there. And I thought, it's gonna take people years. How did you get there? Like I feel like you've really grown fast in your job. Do you,
I,
do you feel as though you have?
Yes, I feel like during my internship, oh my god, I was very nervous, I would say, because it was not classroom where, you know, I could do a mistake and my professor would be, okay, try again. But this is real patients, real treatment, real medicine. So it was like my internship, I was kind of a little nervous. And
Uh-huh.
I still remember when I had my, I feel like 1 month evaluation, and I had like my supervisor sitting right in back of me with like a paper to evaluate me on all the terms and like all the, you know, if I meet the standards of care. So I remember that time I was like nervous beyond measures. I was like, oh my god, what if, you know, I forget to cue them in the phlebotomy? Just one thing, because if I don't, the thing is it's small, but if I don't cue them in the phlebotomy, they won't get their labs done, they won't get their blood work done, which is needed, and the doctor sees the results and then they can go to the doctor's appointment. So my one mistake will literally lengthen the whole process. If the patient could just get the things done in like 3 hours, just my one error would make it 4 or 5 hours, and I never want that to be on me. So I was so nervous. I feel like when I was an intern, I was like, oh my god, these are real patients. But I feel like with time, the experience, and just being like, I know I can do it. I feel like it was my internship that gave me a lot of confidence because the first 2-3 weeks are the worst because you're learning so much new information. You're like, what is this? And healthcare really works on medical abbreviations, so there's like real codes that you have to know at the top of your head. I sometimes I don't understand what the doctor is saying. There's very like specific terms for specific things. So that's one thing. And so like the first 2-3 weeks I was nervous. I was taking slow by slow, and after 1 month I feel like I was more confident. At the end of my internship I felt like I kind of knew how MSK worked. And when I came in as a full-time employee, even like my manager's manager, she met me and she's like, you kind of look a lot more experienced than a new full-time employee. That's what she said. She's like, you really, I feel like you really know what you're doing and you have a lot of clarity. And that made me feel really good. I feel like just take it one day at a time, try to learn, have your notes, don't do the same mistake twice. Learn as you're going. Always, and this is like, I feel like this was life changing for me. Try to do the hard stuff. Try to do the hard stuff, because once you know how to do the hard stuff, it kind of becomes easier for you. Like, if it's a really difficult disposition form, like I told you, the surgery is a difficult one. It's very like detail oriented and you have to schedule 5 things. So try to, I feel like just getting thrown on to difficult things kind of teaches you quickly. Don't try to, just do little by little. Just be like, oh, I'm new. Let me just do the easier things, because that will take a lot of time for you to grow. So try to do the difficult things, because once you do the difficult things, the other things will seem a lot easier. Trust me. Like, if I'm scheduling surgery, just scheduling a follow up will not be difficult. It will be something I can do it like at the top of my, like just with a little bit of effort. So try to do the difficult things. Learn. Every day is a learning process. I still don't know a lot of things, but the things I know, I think I'm really sure about that. I'm like, okay, this is what we have to do. And just practice and practice and practice. I feel like the first 3 months is a whole learning phase. 6 months, I have one more month for my 6 months evaluation. That's another phase, and with time it will get easier, but try to do the hard things. Ask everybody. Your teammates will help you, your supervisor will help you. You are there to learn, and nobody wants to set you up for failure. So you just have to know what you're doing, kind of find your balance. No, like if I can just schedule 25 patients a day, you just take 25 at first and then increase your capacity. So I feel like it's a whole learning process, hands-on experience. That's kind of what it teaches you. I feel like I've learned so much work. It just, you take the medical terminology classes, you take like healthcare information system class, and you never know where it's gonna work. And now, right now, it really works, because I'm like, oh my God, the renal consult, it's for a kidney. So, it kind of like comes to your brain what you learn. So what you're learning is class is important. It kind of will help you.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So, how do you feel? Did you feel that you were well prepared for the workforce when you left Caldwell? Or did you feel that we had gaps that we still needed to fill in terms of how we educate our students?
I'm just thinking. I feel like I was prepared. We could definitely do more. We could definitely do more, but a lot of the classes I do feel were really helpful, especially Dr. McEvoy, you working at MSK yourself and you sharing your own experience while we were talking about healthcare leadership, organizational change. It kind of helps me understand how a hospital works. Medical terminology, really important. The terms will come up. Trust me, it will come up and you want to know what it is. Another class, I feel like epidemiology. That was something, we did a whole semester wide project, and it was just like small things that we had to like consider for patients. There are social determinants of health. Like, all patients are not same. They have religious practices, they come from a different culture. These are things that the courses kind of teach you, because you come in a little more aware, you come in a little more empathetic. I feel another class that I would say healthcare information system, kind of learning how to use the information system, because that's what we'll be using in healthcare. There's Epic that's a lot of health organizations use. You want to know about that. Technology and healthcare are also going hand in hand, especially during the COVID. Everybody's kind of working from home. So you have to kind of learn how to use healthcare systems. But I feel like it gives you a good introduction. You're not like, oh, what is this? I feel like once you're in the job, different hospitals have different healthcare information system. But I feel it gives you like a very good introduction, and
Okay.
definitely tutors, principals, right? That's what we learned. I feel like that's really important.
Okay.
At the end of the day, this is healthcare, and you want the patients to feel good. You're working with a lot of teammates. It's not one man army thing. It's a whole holistic approach and teamwork. I do feel it was good. One thing that I would like to add is I feel like at least if healthcare administration students at Caldwell could do at least 3 internships, it would be great, because theory is good, but the hands-on experience really pushes you. It really puts you in the spot where you have to grow. It's so out of your comfort zone. So I know we require one internship to graduate in this program, but I wish we had like three,
Oh.
like three at least, even if it's not compulsory. Sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. I feel like if you do one internship, it will really make a strong candidate for like a full-time job. I would really like to focus on internships, because we can be learning so many things, but you want to know what's really happening in the healthcare world. So definitely I would add more internships, and I would suggest students to do more internships.
So most of the students that I'm going to be sharing this with on Thursday, I think only Usha was in the class with where we discussed the student methodology. So the rest of the students haven't been introduced to it yet. But Memorial is not a student organization,
Hmm.
but I think I said when we were talking that class, you will see the student principals, even if the organization is not a student organization. And is that your experience?
Hmm. Yes, so I feel like that was one of the very like important classes, the tutors, principals, and tutors, principals. It kind of works for any healthcare organization,
Yes.
because any healthcare organization, you want to make your employees feel valued.
Yes.
Any healthcare organization, you want to focus on excellence, like excellent patient care, compassionate patient care, and those communication. Those are the things that will kind of you take along, and it will work for you in any healthcare organization. It doesn't have to be a Studer's healthcare organization, and especially like Memorial Sloan, it's really patient centered. So we put the patient first. Even the doctors will be like whatever the patient wants. So it's that patient centered. If a patient is upset, there's patient representatives. My manager steps in. So it's very like, what does the patient want? How do we make this a good experience? We don't want this to be, oh, I have to go to a cancer hospital. Chemotherapy is already difficult. So our approach, I feel the administrators at the top of our head is, how do we make the patients and the families feel comfortable? That's the very first process, and going above and beyond for the patient. Sometimes it's just setting up a patient portal. It's just setting up that. It's really easy, but they're not that tech savvy. And if I just connect their Wi Fi, set up their patient portal, it's such a big thing for them.
Oh,
And I was like, this is so small. For me, it's really small. I just put your email and few things, and look, this is your patient portal. This is how you see your lab results. I just tell them this, and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. What is your name? So they'll
yeah.
write my name, right? And next thing they'll come searching for me. So it's all like the small things. It's the small things. Just how can I help you? Would you like a wheelchair, would you like some water, this and that. So small things, when like patients see that you care, they really place your trust in you. So if you're trying everything and you say, unfortunately I don't have an appointment at this time, can we work around, they're flexible, they understand a doctor's schedule is overbooked sometimes. So it's like building a relationship with a patient. It's by the small things. And some patients are like, so they only go to a certain administrator, and they talk, oh my god, I have a friend who's like so good with patients. They'll come to her and speak to her for hours telling, hey, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened, and even the managers are like, we have to schedule this administrator for this doctor's clinic, because the patients are like so welcomed when they approach her, they feel comfortable. So definitely always try to do everything for the patient, like going above and beyond. Healthcare is all about this. We're not in a any other field. We are in a really critical field where a small action makes a big impact. Like just setting up a patient portal made that patient's day. That patient's going happy to the chemotherapy. It's so minor, but it's so big.
So I can't believe, but we're already almost up to 3 o'clock. We've been at this an hour. And I know when we started, you said, I didn't know if I was going to be good enough. I wasn't sure. And now you're smiling from ear to ear, you're working. And where do you see yourself, say, in 3 years or 5 years from now? What are
Hmm.
your goals um, that are out in front of you now? Do you
Uh,
feel, first of all, do you feel good enough?
I do feel good enough. I feel like self-confidence in your
Mhm,
profession comes with doing things. You
mhm,
have to do things, you have to experience things. It will take you out of your comfort zone. There's no shortcut. You have to do things, and then you're like, oh, this is how you deal with a difficult patient. When another difficult patient comes in, you're not overwhelmed, you're not nervous because you've done it before.
right.
So I definitely think I'm good enough. I feel like my passion for this field is like, it's so personal for me. And every day at the end of the day, when a patient just comes and says thank you, they sometimes bring you drinks, they bring you chocolates, they're like, you guys do such good works, you guys. So they'll bring you chocolates and everything. It's not even that, just calling them for their, reminding them of their appointment, they're like, I'm so glad you called. So it's so rewarding when the patient is happy. It's so rewarding. And so are we talking about 3 years or 5 years here?
Well, let's start with three.
3 years, I definitely want to be in Memorial Sloan Kettering. I want to rise up. I feel Memorial Sloan Kettering is a great hospital where you can go laterally or you can climb up. So
Mhm,
my managers, my supervisors, directors kind of started like a care coordinator like me.
mhm,
A lot of them who are in like the executive board or anything, they started like a care coordinator when they trained me. It's almost like 90% of them started where I am. So I
uh-huh,
feel like if I do my work, if I do well, I have that opportunity where I could be the manager, where I could be a director for Memorial Sloan Kettering. So definitely I see myself, rising up in the, what, let's say, the ladder within
uh,
Memorial Sloan. So I definitely in 3 years I do see myself moving up. I feel like I could be a team leader, or
yes.
a project lead where I could lead a team for a project. Also, I'm looking forward to going into health informatics. I feel
Mhm,
like this is another field that's really gonna boom in years to come, because right now once the COVID hit, everybody kind of utilized technology. Like
yes,
telemedicine was a really new concept, but now it's an everyday use. Patients
yes,
are like, oh, can we do a telehealth with the doctor? Do we really need to come in? So, telehealth is being used every day. I feel like technology is also going to play a big part in healthcare. And I definitely want to be prepared
mhm,
when the change is going on. So, I'm definitely going to go for my master's. I'm thinking of going to grad school for health informatics. I feel like that would give me really strong technical skills and
Uh-huh.
climb up the ladder at Memorial Sloan. So, I can maybe rise up to be a assistant manager, a team lead, assistant manager, director. I don't know. I just want to grow and learn in this field. And also, like, I do want to do volunteer work in Nepal with whatever I have learned. I'm affiliated with few organization, Health Foundation Nepal. Anything that I have learned or my experiences, if it can be used anywhere back home in Nepal, maybe like anywhere, maybe data, maybe anything that I can do from here, I will definitely do it. And especially, I will mentor any students. If they say, Anamika, I really want to go to Memorial Sloan, how do I get an internship? I did it for Ruth. We did the mock interview. I can do it for
Yes.
anybody. You just ask. I feel like that's the first step. And 3 years down the line, I feel like I'd be a lot more prepared. And like, we're changing the healthcare system, like you always say. Definitely, like, one day at a time. That's what I tell myself. One day at a time, just doing one little thing at a time. I'm gonna change this.
I believe we are, and I feel very excited about healthcare administration, students entering the profession, the work industry. I think it is going to change it into a uniquely American healthcare system that will work efficiently and be able to deliver high quality care to everybody. I mean, we have to get there. I think, you guys are going to be the ones that are going to get us over that hump.
I
I've
hope
always
so.
believed it.
Definitely.
So, Anamika, thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I'm going to share it with the students on Thursday evening. And I'm going to get, if they have questions or things they want to ask you, I'll send them your way. But I think we covered a lot of ground. And it's been a thrill to see your face and to see you smiling and to hear you doing the job. I mean, for all the years I worked at Memorial, when I had somebody that knew how to problem solve or sunk their teeth into a difficult situation to try and meet the need of a patient, I loved working with that person. I just thought that's my kind of person. So I feel you're doing great, and I know you're making a difference in people's lives. So that's great. So.
Thank you, Dr. McEvoy, for having me. Definitely, everything you've taught me, I'm using those, and I'm so happy. Let me know if they have questions. If you want to do this some other time, maybe in like few months.
Sure.
And if I become a team lead, still we can do it. If I become a director, we can still do
We'll
it.
keep in touch.
Definitely.
I wanted to ask, just in closing, in the student methodology, he talks about investing in employees. And at Memorial, do you feel that's happening? Do you feel valued? And do they value their employees and invest in them?
I do feel that. I feel like a lot of employees at Memorial Sloan are so loyal to the organization. And you know this because once they share their experience, it's people who have worked there for 15 years. It's people who have worked there for 7 years, 20 years. Even the security guards, the environmental services people, they have been in their organization for over 10 years, which kind of says something about the organization because they kind of could change anywhere. So it kind of shows like Memorial Sloan has invested in their employees. I feel the tuition reimbursement is one great way. They also had the pension. There was like a whole pension thing, and the sick time, vacation days. Also, the tuition reimbursement is great. I feel like that really says that they want their employees to go ahead and get more education, and the organization's willing to invest in them that way. My health insurance is covered. So I do definitely feel like it's a great organization where they really do value their employees, and that kind of transcends into employees valuing the patients. You know,
Yes.
it's once the employees feel valued, they feel like they have to value the patient. It comes so naturally because they feel like they're doing a job that makes a difference. They'll do it wholeheartedly, and at the end of the day, the patient is happy. So I do feel they are. I definitely want to grow within the organization too. This is a very like this is the starting phase. I want to lead a team. I want to do some projects. I don't know what. Let's see, but I do feel like it does value their patients. It does value their employees too.
I think it's going to happen there. I think the sky's the limit for you. And I expect I'll be reaching out to you to get my students internships in your department or something.
Sure.
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 Thank you so much. It was great to talk with you. Great to see your face. And
Thank
I'll
you.
see you again soon.
Sure.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Bye now.
you. Bye.